Hello, this is part 2 of the life science from molecules to organisms, and we are going to take up right where we left off in the first video. Okay, so what I want you guys to write down for me now is how we develop as a multicellular organism. It's very important that you understand that the smallest particle of living and non-living things is an atom. That is the very smallest that you can get. You break down an atom and it's no longer an atom. Remember, it goes to protons, neutrons, and electrons. But the atom is the smallest particle. Whether it's living or non-living, the atom is the smallest of all matter. So if we take atoms and we clump them together, we get compounds. From compounds, we get a cell. As we compile multiple cells together, we get tissues. Multiple tissues combined give you an organ. Multiple organs combine to give you an organ system. And a multicellular organism is going to have multiple organ systems that function to make the organism whole and carry out all the characteristics of life. On your notes, I want you to write like atoms to compounds to cell to cells to tissue to organs to organs to organ system to organism. If you want to put in the arrows like I have it here, that's fine. But I want you to show that you start with an atom and end with a full organism. Now, in order for an organism to survive, its cells must be able to transform energy. Energy that we take in from food or energy that plants take in from the sun is not usable energy. It has to be transformed through chemical processes that we go through in everyday life in order for an organism to actually use the energy. So the life processes that are carried out by cells and organisms are as follows. You have photosynthesis, transpiration, cellular respiration, the carbon cycle, homostasis, anaerobic, and aerobic processes. So the first one we're going to look at is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the way that green organisms, like plants, fungus, mold, even some bacteria, some protists that are green that contain that chlorophyll, they are able to take the sunlight, mix it with water and carbon dioxide, and produce food. This food that we refer to is actually like sugars and carbohydrates, and they also give out oxygen. In other words, we can kind of say that photosynthesis is a type of reverse cellular respiration. So the plants or the green organisms, they take in the sun, they take in water from the roots, they take in carbon dioxide from the air. So they have 6 carbon dioxide, they mix it with 6 water molecules, and they give us a sugar and 6 oxygens. The next type of process of life is transpiration. And this is basically like the way that plants sweat. This is the process where plants absorb water through their roots and then they give off water vapor through their pores that are in their leaves. So transpiration is kind of like sweating in plants. Cellular respiration. This is another, we can sort of say that it's like reverse photosynthesis. Instead of what the plants are doing, it is actually what the animal cells are doing. So, animal cells take in oxygen, they take in food, they break it down in a chemical reaction, and they give off carbon dioxide, water, and ATP, which is a type of energy that living organisms can use. So we consume some sugar or some plant, some glucose. We breathe in oxygen. It goes through a chemical reaction. We give off carbon dioxide, water, and we are able to use the energy called ATP. The next cycle, or life cycle, is the carbon cycle. Carbon is always being transferred. That means it's moving from one organism to another, from one substance to another. It's not created or destroyed, it's simply just changing forms from one type to the next. So carbon is being transferred. Carbon from the air, like in carbon dioxide, is used in photosynthesis by the plants. Those plants decay and break down. That dead organism, those waste, that carbon, will either transfer to fossil fuels or it'll be eaten by an animal. Humans use the fossil fuels and release the carbon back into the air, and it starts the cycle again. So you have CO2 in the air, to photosynthesis, to the plants being broken down, giving off waste. We use it for energy, we release it back into the air, and it's just a complete cycle. Next is homostasis. And homostasis is one of the ways that you could actually witness a life process pretty quickly. Some simple things that we can think about is like when you are sitting in a dark room and then you turn the lights on. Well, automatically you want to squint your eyes. You don't have to think about squinting your eyes. You don't have to tell yourself to squint your eyes. It happens because your eyes are sensitive, or they're changing, they're responding based on the light. Just like sometimes when you're in a lit room and then you turn off the lights and you can't see. But you notice if you sit there for a few minutes, you can start to see. It doesn't seem as dark as what it was. And that's because your lights, your nerves are telling your lights to, your eyes to adjust to the light. That is a response to homostasis. It's a way that your body automatically starts responding so that it can survive. Some ways that we go through homostasis, and all organisms do, is like by sweating. If we get too hot, then our body starts to release the water through our pores to cool us down. When we get rid of waste. All homostasis's main function is to be able to keep our body temperatures at 98.6 degrees. So our body has internal nervous systems that will trigger something to say, hey, you're getting too hot, or it triggers you to shiver and move when you get too cold. Those are all ways that your body is maintaining homostasis. It's wanting to stay balanced. You don't have to think about those processes. They just naturally happen. Anaerobic. That prefix "an" means without. So anaerobic means without oxygen. The only type of living organisms that can live without oxygen completely are bacteria. And they live in like extreme environments, like E. coli lives in your gut. Or some bacteria will live in like volcano vents where it's really hot, or maybe they live in the extreme ice where it's frozen. So bacteria can live without oxygen. Aerobic means that it has to have oxygen. All other organisms are aerobic. Even like a plant, even though it's not breathing in oxygen, there is oxygen in that carbon dioxide. So they still need the molecules of oxygen to survive. So anything that uses oxygen would be considered aerobic. Anaerobic means no oxygen or without oxygen. Okay, so that is going to end this section. Now, right now what I want you to do is to take your time, go back through the slides, write down anything that you may have missed. You can feel free to pause, to restart it, to rewatch it, to make sure that you got everything. We will be having an exam over these notes. So on a regular basis, you need to read back through them. Make sure that you have everything. After you get done typing it all, turn it in. You'll still have access to it so you can use it to study. Hope you guys are having a great day.